Coaching, coaching, coaching. That's the topic according to Dave Palumbo. Coaching.
I created Species Nutrition with one mission in mind: to provide bodybuilders and serious athletes with no-nonsense supplements that work. I put my name and reputation on every bottle of Species Nutrition products. If you want to be your absolute best, join the evolution. And we're back for another installment of Heavy Muscle Radio. We are live here. I am Dave Palumbo, and I am joined by the technician once again, Chris Aceto. I hope all is going well. We both didn't have to travel this weekend, so that was a restful weekend. I was with my kids all weekend. What did you do? Anything exciting?
I PayPal'd Arthur Fonzarelli for the Fonz jacket from Happy Days.
I do like that jacket. Let me zoom in on you a little bit here. Stand up. Let me see that jacket.
I'm sorry to stand up, Dave.
Is that new? Is that like a gift, or is that an old one?
It's I bought it on one of those websites where you can buy the Arthur Fonzarelli jacket. I bought the motorcycle too.
No, you didn't. You know what? You look like my father, because my father would get these stints where he would get a chill. He would tell me, I have a chill.
That's the product.
He'd put his winter coat on.
I have the jacket. Listen, it's pathetic. I had today, I was coming downstairs and I told my 11-year-old I had a blanket over my shoulders because I had a chill.
Oh, you did? You really did?
Yeah. And so I said, take. I had stuff in my hand. I said, grab this blanket off my shoulders.
Oh my God.
And he asked me, why do you have that on your shoulders? Because I said, I'm freezing. My shoulders are cold. And so when I came down, I put the Fonzarelli jacket on. Because I have a chill.
My father, I would catch him.
I'm channeling your father between Charlie's Angels and the chill.
I know. My father would put the gloves on. He'd have a scarf around his neck. I don't even know if anyone wears scarves anymore, but he would have a scarf wrapped around, because the neck, the Italians think the neck is the vulnerable position.
Yeah, they of course.
If the neck is exposed, you're done.
That's
but if
right.
you're covering the neck up, you can heal yourself. You know, you can overcome the sickness and combat the chill. You know,
the Italians would take garlic, heat it, and put it on the neck and wrap a scarf around the neck.
Oh my God, you're right. Holy mackerel. You know, but my grandfather used to do it. My father would make fun of my grandfather because the house would be, we'd go to my grandmother's house. It would be, we call it Mary's Hot House. It would be like the thermostat would be on 86. I didn't even know the thermostat went up to 86 until then. Flash forward 25, 30 years later. And I go into I told you the story. I go into my father's bedroom upstairs. The air conditioning's on the house downstairs. He's in the bedroom. I'm like, Dad, are you all right? Are you sleeping now? Come on up. You open the door to his bedroom. It's like the heat that hits you. It almost knocks you unconscious. It's like you're at the equator or something like that. And I'm like, Dad, what? How is it so stifling in here? You have the air conditioning on. He goes, I got the heater on. The heat is like one millimeter from burning the house down. I don't know how over all those years he didn't burn that house down with that thing. The cord would be like 1,000 degrees, Chris.
Yeah, the cord didn't melt. The wall would be burned.
Yeah. How did he didn't melt the cord and burn the whole house down? It's a miracle. But he never, he was convinced that, and you know what the scary part is? Now I see you doing it. I'm going to probably wind up doing the same thing. The difference is I'm in Florida. I can go outside and in the heat and sweat it out if I have to. So anyway, yeah. So yesterday was good. I did Easter egg hunting with the kids. My kids are very serious about Easter egg hunting. I don't know if your kids ever do Easter egg hunting or anything like that, but they're very competitive when it comes to stuff like that. And let me see if I can pull up some of my video.
You sound like you got a sniffle. You may need this scarf.
Now I'm laughing hysterically because I was joking when I said, "What do you have a chill?" And then but you really did have a chill. That's the irony of the whole thing. So there's my son. He got the most eggs. So it's like Jay Cutler winning the Olympia. That's nice. And hold on, let's see what we got here. Hold on. How come I can't scan to the next? Oh, there we go. All right, so they had like a petting zoo with the chicks. Of course, as soon as my kid, you know how many animals I have, Chris, in my house, right?
Of course.
You would think that we have nothing because whenever we encounter any other animals outside of my place, that's what they want.
Oh yeah,
I don't want chickens, they want chickens now.
Yeah, but that's a true animal loving family when they see it and they say, "Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
We'll get a little pony."
How do you say no to the 5-year-old, right? Who wants chicks, right?
Hamster, little kitty cat, dog, snake.
Yeah. I said, Shayla, we got to get a chicken coop, otherwise the foxes and the coyotes will eat them.
The alligators. You're back.
Oh yeah. Petting the rabbits. Then that's our new thing. She's like, "Daddy, for Christmas, can you get me a rabbit?" I said, "Well, the snakes might eat the rabbit. What about goats? Can we get goats?" I said, then I got to put a fence. I got to put a wall around my property like Donald Trump. I said, I don't have any, and I don't know who to make. I don't have anyone to pay for it. I said, I need some Mexicans to pay for it. I said, but I don't think they're going to do it. There's Logan joining the fun. And hold on, I'm trying to find
some of those animals, right? That's the stage for kids exploring, like
Now they're getting back into the snakes again. So I take them over to the snake room. They want to hold the snakes now all the time. Logan's getting, because I think he's getting some street credibility at school from the kids now that they know that he has snakes. Before he didn't care. Now the other kids think it's cool that he has the snakes, and now he's like, using it.
It's normal to him, but once they find out, they're
right. But he's using it now to like get street credibility at school. So.
The fiber.
So here it is, Chris. Here it is, Chris.
Fiberlize doesn't give him credibility, Dave.
No.
My phone.
10, 9,
the 5-year-old.
7.
Let's get those eggs, Shayla.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go!
Go, Shayla! There she goes. There she goes. Run far away, Shayla.
It's like I got her at the Olympia, Chris, and I'm like cheering her on.
Eggs.
To win the Olympia.
There goes Shayla.
Ready? 10.
So yeah, we had a fun weekend. But they said Logan got the most eggs, and so I have the most egg shells in my car now, and the most pieces of candy and toy wrappers all over the car because inside every one of those little eggs is like a little bit of a toy or a candy or whatever they put inside of there. But it is what it is. So. Oh, also, before we get started, guys, I want to also remind everyone we have a couple hours. I guess we have 2 hours left for the speciesnutrition.com Easter sale. Sid, you want to put that up? We are giving we were selling caramel macchiato isolized protein. First of all, it's 28 grams of protein per serving, Chris. It's the highest yield whey isolate on the market. No one else has a better yield than that. We have, it's less than a gram of carbs and less than a gram of fat. It's got virtually zero lactose. I mean, you can't say it's zero, but it's zero.
Explain that to consumers, Dave, what the yield means.
Well, because most scoop sizes are about 33 grams serving size. How much protein you can extract from that 33 grams will give you your yield. So most companies have 22, 23, 24, maybe 25 grams per 33 gram scoop. We have 28. So the reason we do that, the reason we have more than everyone else is because we've gotten rid of all the lactose. We've gotten rid of all the fillers. It's just protein. So of the quantity that's there, it's mostly protein. The other couple grams is just the flavoring system, the artificial flavoring system. So number one, if you have a lactose sensitivity, it's not going to bother your stomach. Okay, we're selling it at half price essentially. So this is normally a $49 item. It's $24.99. Obviously, I want people to try the flavor. It's one of my favorites. I'm a coffee, and I got to send you some because you know what? I'm sure your sons will steal it from you, but it's coffee without the coffee. We have the coffee flavor one, obviously, with the real coffee in it. But this one is like almost like a one of the drinks that Starbucks would make, except there's no sugar in it. So if you're dieting, you'll swear you're drinking a Starbucks coffee, and it literally has nothing in it. Matter of fact, you can even put this into your coffee if you want, and it will make it taste like a real caramel macchiato from Starbucks. So the reason I'm doing this, I want people to try it, because once they try, a lot of people can't afford, to spend all that money. For $24.99, they can buy it. Plus, if you want to get any other of the Species nutrition products, it'll be 30% off the entire website. 2 more hours only. So Easter 30 is the code on checkout. It won't take off of obviously the caramel macchiato, because that's already discounted. If you spend $100 or more and you live in the continental United States, you get free shipping as well. So great chance to taste a great protein. So give it a shot. All right. What else do I have on my list of stuff? Oh, by the way, Anya Langer did not die.
You mean Anya Schreiner?
Excuse me, Anya Schreiner did not die. There was a false rumor. I did not post it because it was just like the Robbie Robinson fake death rumor from a couple weeks ago. So I said, you know what? I have a feeling this is BS. Turns out it's BS. Thank God she's alive. So that's good news.
B.D. Cooper and Nasser are alive too.
Yeah, I wish that Nasser was alive. Now, I was listening to a reel on Instagram earlier by Bill Burr, who I don't really like his politics, but he's a good comedian. And Bill Burr was talking to, I forget who he was talking to, one of these talk show hosts, and he was saying, they were talking about Lance Armstrong.
Yeah.
And I was so happy. I sent it to you. Did you watch it?
Yes, I laughed.
Yeah, I was so happy that they actually, should I play it? It's pretty funny.
Will they demonetize you?
I don't know. Can we play that, Sid? Let me see. I think we could probably play it. It's really funny.
Well, now that you brought it up, you might as well play it so people.
Yeah. All right. Let me pull it up here. Yeah.
It's true. That's why it's funny. I sent you the David Chappelle video, which.
Son, right?
It wasn't.
Hold on, let me do it again so that people.
He raised $500 million for cancer research. That's what that lie did. Yeah, it was great. And everybody had the bands on. Remember the bands?
Yeah. Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That blocked out the sun, right?
It wasn't to block out the sun.
No risk cancer.
Yeah.
No, the whole thing was annoying, and I hated how Oprah was interviewing him and acting like she was dumbfounded that this guy would do this. Like, she's been in show business for 35 years, and she can't, wrap her head around some guy doing whatever it takes to get to the next level. Didn't she, for the first 5 years, have, midgets who wanted to bang their mailman's boyfriend? And she didn't want to do it. She didn't want to do it, but she didn't have the power to say no, so she wrote it out. And then when she could make a good decision, she did a show. But she stood on the heads of those little people for 5 years until she got, and then she's sitting there.
I don't want to play too much because they'll probably demonetize. But so, yeah, I mean, what he was basically saying about Lance Armstrong right after that is that all these guys were taking anabolics. and what about all the people that were saying how terrible it was who disqualified him, who made millions and millions of dollars off Lance Armstrong and all his bike stuff that he did? It was so hypocritical to single this guy out. But he did say, he goes, look, he was a psychopath on a bike, but he wasn't harming anyone as long as he stayed on the bike. So it just goes to show you it's a bunch of crap. We know that all these athletes at the elite level use performance-enhancing substances, anything they can get their hands on and get away with, because every little edge means more money in these guys' pockets, and that's just the way it goes. That's life. So
yeah, it's just a microcosm of the hypocrisy in the world. But the point is that why it was funny is because he said, everybody was using anabolic.
Yeah.
Or they were using everything, and the
top 20 failed the drug test. That's the funny thing. And they don't realize that.
Huh?
They couldn't give the medal to the second and third place guy because they both failed the drug test too. Yeah, it was like, remember in the 91 Nationals when Kevin Levrone won, Flex Wheeler was second, who was third? Matt Mendenhall?
Third is DeMayo.
DeMayo, and then fourth was Mendenhall, and then Ronnie Coleman was fifth. The top four couldn't pass a drug test, so they couldn't go to the World Amateur Champ, the Mr. Universe contest. That's why they sent Ronnie Coleman there. He was the only natural guy there, and then he won the overall, and that's how he got his pro card. But you know, that's the way it goes. You know, there's only one Ronnie Coleman out there, right?
Well, I mean, it's just his point is just that. I mean, are we so far? Are we past that idea that like people at that level are
right? I think we're naively still not there, Chris. I think that people still want to believe, you know, what they're told on TV.
And the Easter Bunny and
Easter Bunny, that's right.
Lance Armstrong was, you know, dirty. Everyone else behind him was clean.
Yeah.
And that is really, you know, Arthur Frontarelli's jacket.
Yeah. Well, you know what Bill Burr said at the end? He said, "Our guys on juice beat their guys on juice," and that's just the way it is, you know.
It is, yeah.
It's like sometimes you ever see these bodybuilders. It doesn't really happen anymore, but it used to happen in the past. And these guys would say, "He's on a ton of juice," you know. Back when we were competing, that guy takes a ton of stuff, you know. But they only take a little bit of stuff, you know. We only take a little bit of stuff. That guy's juice to the gills, right?
If I took what so and so took, I would look like him too. That's
Right. which is ironic because it's always the guys who are saying that are usually on the most stuff of anything, you know.
Well, then you ask the person, you ask Levrone what you're using, you like, okay, even somebody smart might say, well, you got to be lying because it's all to expect.
Yeah, I agree. BS is what it is. That's what it is. So I think I have this curse. There's a curse in my family. All right, not like Jimmy's curse, where someone cursed the family. My grandmother, my mother's side, used to spill things on herself all the time, and she was the cleanest person you've ever met. Her apartment, you could eat off the floor, and she would just spill stuff all the time, and it just things would fall out of her hands, and I inherited that. And she's like, "It's a curse. Our family has this curse. We spill stuff." I said, "Grandma," I said, "Why?" I said, "You're so clean and you're clean." She's like, "It has nothing to do with being clean." She goes, "It's a curse of the hands they give out." I said, "All right." So of course, she put that thought in my head. I spill everything, right? And now my daughters and my son spill everything. My son has already fried one of my laptops, maybe two actually, and I have this really nice Alien laptop that I've been using the last 2 years, and my daughter spilled a Diet Coke on it. Except she doesn't react. She waited about 30 seconds. Said, "Dad, I think I need some help over here." I said, "What's going on?" She's like, "I spilled a Diet Coke on your computer," like very nonchalantly. And I'm like, "Oh no, not again! Another fucking computer." And you know what happens? I don't know if you've ever spilled anything on your laptop. It doesn't die right away. It's like a slow death.
Yeah, it gives you hope. You hope like that it's not going to die, and then sure enough,
you wipe it, you clean it, you turn it upside down, and everything like that, and it works for a couple of days. And and then every once in a while, like you try to type a 5, and you get like an exclamation point.
Yeah.
And you don't think anything of it because there's only one key that's not working right. So you just restart the computer, and sometimes it fixes it. The next day, it's working again, and then little by little, as the internal components of the computer rust and become decrepit and incinerated, this thing finally dies, and then you wind up having to spend another $3,000 on the computer. So that was my day. My daughter spilled six times. I think she set a record today. 6 spills in one day.
You got to put plastic over it like the Italians do.
That's it. It's my fault. But I blame myself. I can't even blame her. It's the curse. It's the Polanski curse.
You talked about your father or Italians with with the hot house. Going over to my aunt's house, Dave, from Italy, living in Maine, and the house was like 200 degrees, and everything was covered in the plastic on the front, boiling hot. I
don't understand this because there's the plastic preserves everything, but you know what? But it looks so terrible. It's so tacky. And you know, a lot of people who put the plastic down actually are people that are very stylish. I don't know why they think the plastic is like, they're trying to save the furniture.
They had plastic on the lamp shades.
No one even knows what we're talking about, Chris. I can guarantee aside from the people our age, no one knows what we're talking about.
Think of, this is what Italians used to do at one time to make sure that the big purchases of the nice furniture would stay intact. They would shrink wrap all the furniture with plastic. It was like wrapped, right? But it was a clear, so you could still see the patterns of the furniture.
Yeah, it was clear. Yeah, clear.
I don't even know where they got it, right, Dave? It was,
I don't either. Maybe it came from the store. I don't know.
every single part of their furniture was covered in plastic. And because my parents had the discussion or fight, my mother didn't want to have it covered with plastic, and my father was concerned that, you know, it get worn out. And the whole goal was, because they were cheap, buy that expensive furniture once, it's got to last you a lifetime.
Hold on, I'm pulling a picture up.
Dave, on Google of plastic covered furniture.
I think they sell it. They sell it on Amazon. But you know, it was like form fitting though. This plastic is like, this is not the real. This is not how it looked. The plastic was like it was like a cover that was made specifically for that piece of furniture, so that it was form fitting. It wasn't gappy. It wasn't hanging. It was perfectly covered the thing. And you would sweat and you would stick to this plastic. You'd have to, like, you know, rip yourself off.
It was as perfectly custom as like Hutskins were to like back in the day.
Oh my God, you're right. You're right. It's very funny. Yeah, those were some funny days. That's for sure. All right, let me let's talk some bodybuilding. Yeah. You got one side they sweat themselves out. The other side they're freezing. Hold on. All right, here's a little Brett Wilkin at the our friend Jack. By the way, Jack Titoni, who runs the him and Ann Titoni, who run the St. Louis Pro, very good friends of mine.
Yeah.
Jack just turned 60 this couple days ago. So congratulations, Jack. You made it. I'm right. Chris and I are right on your heels. We're nipping at your heels.
Oh, 60.
There's Brett Wilkin, looking huge.
Yeah,
I saw him there last year around this time. He looks like he's about 15, 20 pounds heavier than he was last year.
Yeah, big shoulders, big arms, big legs. Looks good.
Yeah.
Very good shape.
So what show is Brett getting ready for?
Olympia?
I don't know if he's doing – yeah, because he's qualified already, right?
Yeah.
He looks good. I mean, he's really lean.
He's very lean.
I wonder if he's going to be in Pittsburgh.
Midsection looks very good. It's always
right. I mean, he's really Olympia. He did leave the door open last time I spoke to him. Maybe doing a show before then. I think we're going to see him before that. I really do. I'm trying to think who he reminds me of from the past. What physique does he remind you of, Chris? A little bit.
I don't know. I don't think he reminds me of anyone. I think he just looks like himself. You know.
Yeah. There's something.
Hey.
Got a good back too.
He's good everything. Good balance.
Yeah.
As a whole, you know.
He looks a little. He has a little bit of a Nasser looking physique to me, right? He's very broad. He's got those big shoulders and pecs and good abs.
He looks funny when he ran across the stage, though.
Yeah, you can't. As Lee Haney would say, good big man doesn't run, right?
I don't think Lee Haney would approve of people running at 300.
No, good big man doesn't run, doesn't go to the ground, right?
He'd say Goliath never ran.
Goliath never ran. Speaking, when is that movie coming out with Martin Ford playing Goliath? The movie about David and Goliath?
Oh, I was thinking Lee Haney the other day. But thinking it's funny that he would say.
What was the song that Lee Haney posted? Can you remember that one?
Was it Excalibur?
It was Excalibur. Yeah, it was. I need to get it.
A grand physique need a grand orchestra.
That's right. There you go. I always tell people if you're a big freaky guy, you got to get like very heroic music.
Oh, he loves that word heroic.
Yes.
Haney,
Right?
That is to Lee Haney as like guerrilla marketing is to
Blackman. Guerrilla marketing. Oh, yeah. All right. There's Martin Fitzwater, also same show. We just saw him recently. He's looking really, really good. He's going to be up on that stage in Pittsburgh, obviously, against Nick Walker and Good Vito.
Right.
And I understand Crizzo's doing that show too, so that's going to be a great show.
Bonac is doing it.
Oh, Bonac's in it too. That's right. What day do you get there?
I haven't got. I gotta arrange for my. I gotta figure out tomorrow.
I got to get a flight done too. I keep saying, I keep forgetting it.
I already
yelled at Sid for not doing his flight. Now he's got a flight and a hotel, and I don't have. I have a hotel, but I don't have a flight.
That's hard, Dave. So that means it's, you know.
This is the best. I think Martin looks better here than he did when he beat what's his name, C-Bum, at the end of the year.
Yeah, no, he's fuller. He's bigger.
He's bigger, but he's hard and dry too. I mean, he looks like he could have competed right there at that show. You know.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't deplete too much further than he looks right there. I mean, that was a great look for him. Where's Crizzo? Put the Crizzo stuff up, Sid, and the Nick Walker stuff.
Yeah, Nick looks crazy. Crizzo looks crazy.
Yeah, I gotta say, Nick has really improved. I don't know how he improved as he dieted into the show, but he's gotten better. Crizzo's looking freaky. Now, what did he have done? He had shoulder surgery. That's why he took time off. I can't tell what he had done.
Shoulders look better than ever.
Oh, the movie, by the way, is out. It's called King David. Nothing to do with me. Suffered a shoulder injury and then surgery. And I knew he had the surgery, but he must have just had like a scope done. I don't see any. I don't think he had anything major done to it, but who knows? He's a freak. But he's got like a weird looking muscle. But we haven't seen him in what, 2 years now?
I think a couple at
I think
least.
he missed last year, right? He didn't compete. I don't remember him competing last year, did he?
20. I think he might have competed the tail end of.
I don't think he competed last year.
I think he did, but I think the shoulder. I think the shoulder was already like shot, so it wasn't like his best.
When was the last? I'm sure our viewers will find it for us. When was the last time Crizzo competed?
Pro.
He placed third at the Pro. Oh, you were right, Chris. All right, I defer to you.
I'm on a Milos. I got a little Milos memory going on right now.
Who won that Pro? There you go. Let's see who came up with the win on that one.
Was that Baruz? Was the Baruz win that?
Oh,
one?
is that Beirut's show that he won? Okay, all right, that makes sense then.
And who was second there? Bonac?
I don't know. It's a good question. Sid, pull it up. we need fact finders now. They should create an AI for bodybuilding factoids. Like take Lonnie Teeper's memory and just like download it into the database. Yeah, Bonac, you were right. Oh, Bonac first, Beirut second, Crizzo third. Wow, pretty good. You flipped the Bonac and Beirut, but that was pretty good. You got to remember those three.
Three very good bodybuilders.
Yeah, excellent. Well, Bonac is going to be in Pittsburgh too, so I mean it's going to be a crazy show. I'm actually really looking forward to it. I think the lineup might even be the show might be just as good as the Arnold was. Maybe not in terms of Derek too. Don't forget is going to be there. So
yeah, no, it's going to be a great. I mean, it's what a great Arnold, what a great Pittsburgh Pro.
It's like we got lucky. We never think about it. We always had the Arnold and we always had the Olympia. We never had like New York Pro is good, but we never had the lineups because Steve, it was just too hard for Steve to get enough funding to put up $100 grand. But when you put up that kind of money, you get all kinds of ridiculous people entering the show, and I don't blame them. Who the hell doesn't want to win that much money?
Yeah.
But I'm hoping that there's going to be some, because they're doing Pittsburgh. the guys that don't win will go and do New York the week after. So that's going to make the New York show that much better too. So they feed each other. Any of these guys that don't do both shows are idiots. Aside from the ones that win, obviously. If you win, then you don't have to do it. But you might as well do the New York Pro the next week. I mean, first of all, Pittsburgh might be a better show in terms of prize money this year, but New York, the fans are amazing there. If you look good, you're going to leave that place thinking that you're going to feel like $1 million. It doesn't matter what you take home with you cash-wise. The fans will make it worth your while. I mean, that's the one regret I have is not turning pro. The one regret I have is not turning pro, because people always say, "Oh, do you feel bad you never turned pro?" No, I said I don't. It wasn't meant to be. But the one thing is I would have loved to do is stand on that New York Pro stage in front of all my hometown fans, guys and everything like that. I know Juan Morel's greatest memories of winning the New York Pro twice, because he didn't even care about the other shows, because that's where he's from, New York. And the New York fans just go absolutely insane. I know Evan Centopani, too, won New York. And that was – did he win twice also? I think he won twice, right?
No, once. 09.
Once?
09 or 10? 09.
I thought he won again after that, didn't he? No?
I can't remember what year.
I don't remember. But, yeah, I mean, when you're from that area, Victor Martinez won that. When you're from that area and you win New York Pro, it's like you'll never forget that. And so if any of you guys out there watching who are doing the Pittsburgh and you don't win, go to New York. I'm telling you. You got to go to New York. Back when they used to call it the Night of Champions, when Wayne DeMille used to run that thing, that was a show that everyone had to go to. And people loved it because they wanted that New York crowd there screaming. If you look like shit, they told you look like shit. If you looked amazing, they raised you up to another level. I know that. I can tell you that. Promise you that. More careers were built on that show. I remember when Levrone won the first time.
Yeah.
Right? That was insane.
He was phenomenal.
Yeah. He was nutty looking. That's when he had the crazy huge legs too. Remember that?
Yeah, his legs were phenomenal. When Jay won, a little tidbit.
Mm-hmm.
I was in the audience. Jay, I'm sure Jay will remember this better than me. And they had people on the stage that they would have like 2 tiers. They would have platforms, like 2 and 3 platforms. Like they couldn't fit the people on the stage, so they would have like the first people stand on the stage, and then behind them would be like a row of like 18 bodybuilders higher up, like on a platform.
Right, I remember that. Yeah.
Behind them, they'd have even more. And the first call out was like, I can't remember. Jay would tell you exactly who was in the first call out.
Yeah, he has that photographic memory, right?
Yeah. And AIJ, I should call him.
AIJ.
And
download his memory too, yeah.
They called the first call out, and I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. Front double bicep, front lat spread. And they stopped and they go, oh, and Jay Cutler.
Oh,
He hadn't won anything.
They forgot him? Oh, shit.
So they brought him down, and they went through the poses. And then Jay Cutler back in line. So the crazy thing is that they forgot him, but when they saw him, they forgot him again. They said, okay, back in line. You got the show.
Did he say, when you talked to him after, was he nervous when they didn't call him that? Or was he?
Dave, I saw his face on stage. He almost told
Well, he had to know he looked good. That's why you can't.
You know how it is. You can look good, but then you see like people backstage, and you like everyone looks good backstage.
I know.
And then the judges are the judges. So if they left you out, you must have think like, I knew my back was not tight enough, or I knew I over dieted, or I knew I didn't diet hard enough. You could run 1,000 little scenarios through your head, right?
Yeah.
I should have done more immediately. You can run 10 scenarios through your head as like too flat, too full, too watery, not tight enough on Thursday, better on Monday, should have depleted, should have loaded more. Yeah.
You're right. By the way, Leo, I did see your podcast with Sid. Good interview you guys did. If you want to watch Overcome podcast, Leo Meyerhofer, our friend, interviewed Sid. It's good interview. But that's the New York live stream information. Okay. What about? Is there a live stream, Sid, in Pittsburgh? We'll be doing the wrap up there, obviously. Sid, Chris, and I, and whoever else. We should have an all-star wrap up. You know, everyone's going to be. You know, Cormier will definitely be there. You know, probably Milos will be there too. I'm sure the whole crew will be there in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, everyone will be there.
I haven't been there in a while, actually, so I'm actually looking forward to going to Pittsburgh. Oh no, I did. I was in Pittsburgh last year. What am I talking about for the Masters, the North American Championships? I was there for 6 days, but I didn't leave the hotel, so I forgot I was in Pittsburgh. How many places have you gone to, Chris? Seriously, you probably can't remember because you've probably gone to how many countries, states, places that you've gone to where you've never left the hotel room. You went from the airport to the hotel.
Well,
venue and never saw anything else.
I have to say this, Dave. I told my 11-year-old tonight. It's funny you should say that because I told him I was telling him about Germany and this and that, and we should take a European trip to family and this and that. And I distinctly remember every place I go where I don't get a chance to go. Is I can remember going to like Spain for bodybuilding shows and waking up at 5 a.m. to go walk the neighborhood because I realized if I don't, you know what I mean? Or going by myself at like after the show at like 10:30 at night just to get a feel because I know like, God, I'm so tired. But if I go back to the hotel room, I'm going to fall asleep. I'm going to see the hotel room in the venue. Yeah,
I went when I was in Cologne, Germany the last time for FIBO. I walked to that castle. That's down the block. You've seen that oldest castle in like Europe or something like that. It's considered. And I told you that's where I met Rico Barakat there. He was from NBC. He used to own the NBC News clothing company, and we ran into each other. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" He goes, "What am I?" I said, "I have to see the sights, right?" He goes, "Me too." We were in there for 10 minutes. We left. We took a few pictures to prove that we were there, and that was it. So it's the truth. When Chris and I went to Australia, I think the only thing we saw was the inside of that Thai restaurant that we went to, right?
We got third-degree burns. If we had American lawyer ambulance chase, we could have.
Is that the real Lee Priest that is on the in the chat there? What's up, Lee? That's really you. He's fighting with Larry, I think. That's what it looks like. Yeah, so that's all good. But yeah, if you go on, you should always try to take an extra day if you're going to go away and see the sights at least there. Sid, pull up the Nick Walker footage. That's the only person we haven't talked about yet. No live stream on Pittsburgh. Okay, well, you got to go then. If you want to see the show, you're going to have to go. If you don't go, you'll have to watch our coverage of the Pittsburgh to get the full wrap up. All right, so there's Nick Walker. What is this? How many weeks out are we sitting here? That's probably the best I've seen him in a while. I still feel like his legs might be a little down in size, but compared to what they were. But it seems like he put back the size that he probably had lost leading up to the Olympia for sure. What do you think, Chris? Are you impressed?
Yes.
Okay.
The pause is only because I'll tell you what, with so many people with these like basement photos or, the reason why people don't look truly impressive is because they are alone.
True.
And I'll give you an example, Dave, is if Andrew Jack posted a photo like this in his basement or something 3 weeks out, you'd say like small, because he's standing alone. So it's a lot of times, the pause is like, it takes a while to like, look at this. That's a great back lat spread.
Yeah. I feel like his adductors are a little small. The inner thigh portion. He used to have those like beefy.
But the point is, the back looks good too.
Yeah.
He's standing alone. So if you can look impressive standing alone, with nobody next to you, because we know he's not 205 pounds, right?
No.
So if you can look good standing alone, I think it's going to translate into far, far, far more impressive. When you see him next to people.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the only thing I really see that's a little still down in size, and it might just be an illusion, maybe he's depleted, is his adductors are a little small. But his quads are really crazy looking. His hamstrings are good, glutes are good. Back is definitely up in size. I mean, but we won't know, like you said, Chris, until we see him standing next to these other guys on stage. So,
I mean, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day, anyways.
I mean, you saw Martin Fitzwater. I mean, we didn't see the whole package, but we saw Martin Fitzwater. Can Nick Walker beat Martin Fitzwater?
I don't think there's any guarantees in the show for anyone, really. I think the array of physiques from tall and broad Crizzo to power physiques there's a lot of power physiques in the lineup.
There's Nick Walker from New York Pro. Sid's putting it up for comparison.
Martin, you got Derek, you got Bonac. You got Good Vito. There's just so many variances in the
He
way.
looks pretty comparable here in New York Pro than he does, I think, in those pictures we just saw.
Yeah, I thought I thought he looked good at New York Pro. I just thought he could be a
little harder, harder.
And I think at the night show he was a tad harder. I think too. What happens is this. Is like the New York Pro for Nick, like that was like the breakout show for Martin. I mean, technically, the breakout show for Martin was probably winning Detroit the week before because
a few weeks before,
a week before. It was only a week, I believe.
I don't think it wasn't a week before. Remember, because we were critiquing him that we were saying Good Vito should have beat him, and then I saw him in St. Louis after that, and he said I'm doing New York Pro. And then he, it was a couple weeks after.
So like you see Nick Walker at the New York Pro, and I just think that our expectations is just like if he's not like 300 months are peeled, all you get is criticism.
Yep.
And if you look at those pictures from New York, he looks really good. It's just that he was pushed, I think, more so in prejudging than the night show by, Martin, especially in, a couple of poses where, like, I thought Martin's side chest surprisingly was very good in that show next to him. And I would have
comparison shots, Sid, if you can find them from that show. I think Martin's aesthetics are a little bit nicer than Nick's. And that kind of like, and I think a lot of our minds overrode the size factor that Nick had over Martin. Martin's bigger this year. I think their size is going to be a lot more comparable, which is going to make it a bit harder for Nick to beat Martin if he brings the conditioning that he has to Martin. But Nick's like a Branch Warren. He's super freaking dangerous because he's so freaky, in a lot of poses that if you're not perfect, he's gonna outmass you, and he's gonna be standing, and he's gonna make you look small, and he's gonna win, over because of that. And that's his calling card. He's a freak, and that's why he's got to bring the freak factor to the stage. He can't try to like play aesthetic games and kind of bring his waist in and try to come in smaller. That's not going to work for him. He's got to be the biggest freak on stage, and that's the way it goes. And when he does that, that's his strength right there. That's his knockout punch.
Yeah.
Who's his coach now? Does he have a coach?
Everyone else except Sean Ray, but go ahead.
No, Sid, do we know who Nick's coach is now? Who's it? Oh, Kyle Wilkes. Oh, that's right. Right. You're right. I remember that. Okay. Well, speaking of coaching, I think a lot of people, how they have these surgeons, Chris, who like if something goes wrong in the surgery, you go to these guys and they fix it. Like my sister had her both hips done, and one of the hips that they did, something wasn't right, and she was in pain, and they did every test in the book. They couldn't figure out what was wrong, and the surgeon was like, well, I can go in there and check it out. And I'm like, you're not going to this guy. He doesn't know what he did wrong. He's a guy, he's good at hips, but if something goes wrong, he doesn't really know what the problem is. He's going to just play around in there. So she found a guy that's what all he does is fix hips, or fix, joint replacements that are wrong. He's like, I can take care of this. The stem was too short or whatever the case may be. Went in there, fixed it. She's fine now. Okay. That's the kind of coach like I am. I have a lot of people who come to me and they're like, Dave, I'm 5 weeks out. I don't know what's going on with my coach. He's getting like, he's crazy. He's like, my body hasn't changed in 6 weeks, and he's giving me kooky stuff to do, and we're getting into fights and arguments. And I think that's the reason, a lot of people, and I'm going to let you give your opinion on this in a second, but there's a lot of people out there that like will hire a coach to, do a show or two shows, maybe take the template that coach gives them, the basically the diet, the supplements, excuse me, and the PEDs, and then he just gives them to everyone else, and he becomes a coach. So he does 2 shows. He's been in the industry for 2 years, and now he's an expert, and he's a coach, and he's coaching people. And if you're coaching someone with good genetics, which a lot of people at the higher levels are, pretty much anything works. You give them a template, you follow it, it works, right? And you can even do kooky stuff with those people, and it still works, But as soon as you get a person that doesn't go exact, doesn't maybe have the best metabolism, maybe is not the best carbohydrate metabolizer, maybe is not the best fat burner, you start hitting, plateaus, and you don't know how to navigate past the problems. And that's when these coaches get exposed for not knowing what they're doing. And then I get people come to me and then they ask me to fix the problem. There's always different problems. Maybe they're not eating enough fat in their diet. Maybe they're not doing something this. Maybe their cardio, they're doing high intensity. They should be doing low intensity. Whatever the case may be, I'm a good troubleshooter. I'll do blood work on them. I'll find out their thyroid hormone is like in the toilet bowl. But these are people these coaches don't necessarily understand what's going on. They haven't been doing it long enough. They don't have enough experience. They can't troubleshoot. If you want to be a good coach, you have to not only have the knowledge of how to give a diet and supplement and PED cycle, but you have to know how to navigate and troubleshoot when things go wrong. If you can't do that, you're not really, you haven't really prepared as a coach, and you're really doing a disservice to the people that you're out there coaching. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people like that out there. I offer a course, Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru. A lot of people have taken the course. Don't get me wrong. But there are a lot of people that probably should take the course. And you know what the funny thing is? If you're coaching people and you're making 6 figures plus a year, you're paying taxes. You're paying a lot of taxes on that money, especially because most stuff comes in through credit cards. You should be looking for tax deductions. Continuing education in the field that you actually do will be a tax write-off. So if you take my $600 Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course, which is online right now, you can watch it, and it's in perpetuity because you can see it unlimited, and it's an 8-hour class. You can write that fee off of your taxes. So it's basically free. And everyone who is a coach should be doing continuing education every single year. I do it every day because I'm always reading stuff and updating myself because I got to do this channel. I got to give you guys all the latest information. But some people get lazy, and what happens is that they don't progress as a coach, and then things pass them by. So my suggestion, continuing education, even if you have good results as a coach, never stop learning. And because if you can't troubleshoot a problem, you're not a good coach. Your feedback, Chris?
The analogy, I think, Dave, was what came to my mind is when you're sailing a sailboat. And, it's pretty easy to sail it from Maine to Long Island if the wind is consistent all in one direction all the time.
Yes, good analogy.
Going all the different which ways, and you have to sail all the time. You know what? Unless you have the experience, you're going to sink that ship.
Yeah, or wind up in Europe. Isn't that a Columbus?
Well, you could wind up in Greenland, Dave, also known as the 51st.
That's
state.
right. That's right. It's a very good analogy and a good metaphor, because you can't just let the wind blow you and hope that you're going to, wind up where you want to go. As a coach, you should control every variable. You should be able to navigate the athlete that you work with to any end you need to. And if things go wrong, you should know how to get out of that trouble situation. And if you don't, you better have some. I have a lot of coaches too that use me as a referral. That, Dave, can I just pay you? I want you to troubleshoot this problem for me, and I'll work them through it. And I explain to them what's wrong and what's going on here and how to get around it. And this way, they don't look like dummies. You know, they take that information, they apply it. The client gets good results, and they look like a good coach. And you know what? That's the right way to do it. Never be afraid to ask someone for help. Hey, Chris and I ask each other sometimes. Chris is like, what do you think about this guy?
Yeah,
I got him doing this, and this. What do you think? And I've said the same thing to Chris. What do you think? What should I do with this guy? I don't know. I can't get him to drop any weight. You know, and we've had these discussions with each other, and we've been doing this a long time, you know?
Yep.
So nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I ask people all the time. I ask you, I ask Jose, I ask Eduardo Correa, I ask, you know, I bounce things off all the time.
Yeah.
It just means that, you know what, I'm not sure. I don't know.
Right.
Or I think I know, but I need confirmation on it.
There's a lot of people out there with very difficult metabolisms, and some of these guys are some of the best in the world.
Yeah.
But their metabolisms is like, and we've talked about Akeem Williams. I mean, the guy, you can feed him a pea pod and he'll gain weight from that, you know.
He spilled
From having too many peas, you know. So that's the way it goes. But as a coach out there, if that's what you love to do, continuing education, very important. Learn from people who know what they're talking about, and don't be afraid to ask for advice and help. That doesn't mean you're not a good coach. It means you're a smart coach. It means you're a coach that knows how to troubleshoot and cares about their athletes enough to get the right answer, not the answer that you want to make up so that you seem like you're smarter than you really are. Because you know what? I make mistakes. Chris makes mistakes. We all don't know everything, and we need help. Sometimes we need help, and we need help from other people. And sometimes other people have good ideas. I've picked up stuff from other coaches out there. I'm like, I never thought about that. You know, or I've read an article that I thought I knew everything about this one subject, and I learned something I didn't even know. Or sometimes some of the guys that email me, text me, say, hey, I heard you talking about so-and-so. You should read this article. And they send me a link, and I'm like, holy mackerel, this was a great article. Thank you so much for sending that to me. I didn't even know that. So never be afraid to learn something new, and keep an open mind. And if you do that, I think you can make a good living as a coach, and, you know, you could, you know, be someone who becomes pretty revered and respected in our industry. So, you know, but you got to work hard at it. It's not just you can't just use the template that Chris gave you for the one diet you hired him for. It's not going to work.
Yeah.
Not going to work every time, at least. So
Everyone's a little bit different, right? Everyone's a little bit different. And as a coach, the worst thing you can do is think you got the prep down pat.
Oh yeah.
Because once you you know get into that mindset, I get the prep down pat, especially if it's with one person, you know, their body changes on you, and if you can't adjust to the way the body changes, and you know, everyone's screwed. Screwed.
Yeah, I agree.
When you have a bomb, the only one who'll notice it will be Sean Ray.
I got to give Sean Ray credit. He's the one who actually found out that Anya Schreiner didn't die. So, you know, he did a little research on his own right there.
Yeah, I think he won. I think he may have won the Arnold the year she won.
No, wasn't that Tanya Knight?
No, I think she won it one year. They rigged it for her. They rigged it.
No, they did. They did. Did they steal it from Laura that year?
Yeah, they stole number 3 from Laura. They gave Laura.
That's why I figured that you knew that from that.
Yeah, and they had never scored a single point off her. And then Paula Berkhamshaw, when
I remember
Paula Berkhamshaw, who was extremely muscular from England.
I loved her. She got a great physique. She
came running up the onto the stage or at the judges' table with 2 towels, and she was given the middle fingers to whoever made that decision, and she was riling up the crowd by taking 2 towels, and the crowd was going completely nuts.
I remember that.
She came because she was the most muscular, dense, hard person in the show. Laura was the best bodybuilder in the show.
Yeah.
And Anya Schreiner had the best hair in the show.
Yeah, she had the white hair, right? If I remember correctly.
She looked like a ballerina.
Yeah.
And,
That was Paula Berkhamshaw right there. Yeah.
it was the same old song and dance. The girls are getting too far out of control. We got to rein it back. We got to
Right.
do that. So they gave it to
Anya.
I know. And, I don't know who rigged it. Joe, I don't know. Joe must have, or Wayne and Joe. Someone rigged it because Anya Schreiner shouldn't have won. And if she had, I wouldn't have said that, though, of course. But the importance of the show, or the craziness of the show, was Paula Berkhamshaw getting the crowd going absolutely psychotic, crazy by giving. Can you imagine, Dave? And in I think she was sixth place at the Arnold Open. Who was sixth this year?
Yeah. Well, Anya was really skinny. And she just put the picture up.
Giving the judges, the double finger, and taking. Right? Well,
Paula Berkhamshaw was like the Lee Priest of like the women's.
Oh
division.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. They should have a podcast, Lee and Paula.
Yeah. Except he somehow managed to keep getting himself back into the sport. She kind of was out after that.
Yeah, well, that was it for her. I think that she's.
Yeah, there's the Anya Schreiner, alive and well. So that's great to hear. Looks like she's shopping for some really fresh vegetables and flowers there. That's pretty nice. Where is that? What country is that in? Is she in? She's from Scandinavia, isn't she? Somewhere.
I think Scandinavia is not a country, so she's.
No, it's one of the Scandinavian countries, right?
I think she was from either Germany or she may have been from where Arnold was from.
Austria. Oh.
She might have been from the same hometown, or might.
Maybe that's why she won the Arnold.
Yeah.
Maybe it was Arnold who pulled that one off.
I don't know. Maybe could have been. Well,
it could have been like the
on the record, Dave, it was rigged.
That's right. She is from Germany. Good memory. Well, Chris, you knew all those women bodybuilders back then. It's funny because you don't know any of them now, but your ex-wife was competing, so you knew all the little gossip from all of them.
I was in the mix.
And don't forget, people don't realize there was no other divisions back then. It was just bodybuilding, men and women, and that's it. So we knew all the women bodybuilders because there was nothing else to remember. I mean, it was boring. You had to learn everyone's name.
Very good point, Dave. That the more divisions, and the more thousands of shows like there are now.
Yeah.
So it was easy to keep track, like who the top 10 open men were, who the top 10 open women were.
Yeah.
There was no, of course, internet, so the maybe top 5 women were continuously, showed up in magazines, and top 10 of the men at the Olympia would show up in the magazine. So they'd be the only people on, the radar screen of fans.
I knew every competitor who was competing at a pro level because I would read those magazines so many times that you couldn't help but memorize it, right? I mean, you knew it. They were like, at least, I mean, this is how I looked at it. When I was reading those magazines, these people, even the women, were like celebrities to me because, right? Because you're looking at a magazine they're in, and I'm like, they raised them up to a higher level.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of times when I meet people who remember me from the magazines, that when they were younger and they were reading the magazines and seeing me in those magazines, they had that same revered feeling because it's like, it's a hard thing to describe because this new generation doesn't know what that magazine means anymore. It's just the internet. It's just, it's just Facebook, Instagram, TikTok and stuff like that. It just doesn't have the same reverence anymore that it had in the past.
If you take it back, like you could know probably like every single aspect of Nick Walker's life, from his favorite color, favorite food, school he went to, and what's his mother's name, what's his father's name, what's his dog's name, what's his ex-girlfriend's name, new girlfriend's name, what's his favorite car.
Right.
So easy to put out, but in the magazines, everything was filtered anyway. So you only got the good, you didn't get the bad, and you'd only get snippets of people. You wouldn't know what, like, even though they'd feature Lee Haney and Rich Gaspari to death, you maybe know their spouses' names and the hometown they grew up in. You wouldn't get all the detail,
No.
Because there's only so much space in the magazine to include detail.
Right. No, you're right. You're 100% right. But Those
The
were
only
the
that's
golden years.
gave the and there was that's why people loved Lonnie Teeper's article News and Views,
Yes.
because it was really like Instagram.
Yeah, it was right. That's the predecessor to Instagram. You're right.
It was little snippets of gossip, and it had nothing to do with bodybuilding. It'd be like, oh, so and so getting a divorce. It looks like he got Arnold. She got she's doing whatever her.
You're right. Lonnie put my wedding, my original wedding picture in there when I was married, back in the
There you go, Dave.
99. Yeah, he had that in there. You're right. And Steve Neese did it for Muscle Mag, the same thing.
Yep.
And what's his name? Ripper Ross did it for MD, right?
Yeah. The first was Lonnie. Lonnie was Iron Man. Yeah, but he was ahead of his time because he was the first one to come out with that.
Yes. Who did it? Did the Weeder magazines have something like that? I don't think they did.
They didn't, because Joe thought it was like Joe didn't
gossip.
He gossip, and he thought it was beneath, what he was trying to promote. Because think of Joe always wanted to provide a picture of perfection. Hated the idea that in his mind, like, bodybuilders was this horrible black sheep of everything. Black sheep of sports is not really a sport. It's a black sheep of this, it's a black sheep of that. And it doesn't have the respect of other sports. And the magazine was like, the irony is the magazine quality, Muscle and Fitness, was unbelievable. The pay scale for the photographers and the editors was unbelievable. It was as good as any magazine.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Very high quality.
Incredible quality. And because that was a way to legitimize the sport and legitimize himself. You know what I mean? He wanted to, and so he didn't like gossip. He thought it was like, save it for privacy. I want to be able to talk about what, good is happening with Lee Haney, not what bad is happening with.
Speaking of photographers, did you see Per Bernal he got some kind of like award or something, or he got featured in a magazine? You see this? I love that picture of him. That's a great picture of Per. Per used to take pictures for Muscular Development. He worked for Muscle and Fitness for a little bit.
Jay gave him his first break.
I did. Did he, Jay? Well, I know that when I was working with Triple H doing his diet, he got Per to shoot him too. He shot him for some personal pictures, but then and for WWE, and then I think he also shot him for a magazine too, for Muscle and Fitness.
He shot excellent black and white pictures.
Yeah, that's my. He's done some pretty epic, iconic pictures, Per.
These were phenomenal, but they were like way back. I think 90. Oh my gosh, 95 or something.
Per's been doing it a long time, yeah.
But he had just.
Oh, look at this! I found the J picture. Hold on.
That's the one I'm gonna say.
That's the one, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Dave, we got to go on a game show besides Charlie's.
Charlie's Angels. That's a great picture. Jay's got to be what, 21 there?
Yeah, I think it was after he won that Cal show. There was a big show.
Yeah. Great. I'm sure Joe loved that picture. Weeder.
That was those pictures were the that the backstory to that is 95, 94. Jay and I don't know, went out there to whatever Jay would tell you the name of the show. Was not the Iron Man. It was the
Excalibur, right?
No, say it again.
Was it the Excalibur?
No, another big show.
Oh.
Bill O'Hearn. Anyways, Jay won the show, and we stayed out there quite a while, and then I think Jay went back to Mass. And was I living out there? I went to Joe's office one time. I've told on this show before, and Joe came with the he came with a nice. I went to his office, Dave, and he had the super nice suit on, except the pants were like 19 inches too long. And for some reason, he had cuffed and cuffed and cuffed and cuffed and cuffed and cuffed, like, you know, up. And then he had sneakers on. So I must have been, you know, like I looked at the sneakers. And I said, okay, don't look again. You know, he's got 1,000. Now he's got sneakers on instead of like dress shoes.
Yeah, yeah.
And the first thing out of his mouth was, he said, you must be wondering why I'm wearing sneakers. And of course, I said, no, I'm not. No. He said, of course you are. Nobody wears sneakers with a.
So what was his reason?
His back, because his back was killing him.
Yeah. And
he was too busy to have the suit. He had it tailored everywhere except the length.
Right.
So he said he had to bring the suit back to have it tailored. But he said, I got to show you some kid. Wait till you see this kid. He said, quote, I'll never forget it. He yelled for someone, Annalise, is it Annalise, or to get the pictures?
Yeah.
And there were pictures of Jay, but before he showed him, I didn't know who he was going to show me the picture. He was just saying, like, this guy's great. He's great.
Right.
It's Reg Park meets the boy next door. That's what Joe's description of Jay was.
That's great.
Park meets the boy next door.
Right.
And Joe said, I'm going to put him on the cover. And he did. Like next 2 issues later, I think he was 22 on the cover.
Wow.
And that's when the covers, like the you know, you go to every grocery store, every checkout, you see it right there, right?
Well, I mean, Jay, look, I'd put Jay on the cover too. I mean, the guy probably sold magazines like crazy. He was a good-looking guy. He was, you know, young. It's crazy.
And only John Hanson listening to the show would know who Reg Park is.
That was Arnold's hero, right?
Yeah.
So, Cody Rhodes loses in WrestleMania to John Cena. I did his diet.
Yeah.
He looked great, though. He, what do you got up there? Sid, what are you putting up?
John Cena, the bad guy now, right?
How many shows? Okay. So we got, Pittsburgh, May 10th, New York, May 17th, week after that, Cal Pro, week after that, Legion Sports Pro Fest and Toronto Pro. Wow. All one after the other. The M Pro Classic, which we just talked about earlier, the one Bonac won, and then Dubai. Wow. Chris, every single week.
Yeah.
And we're starting with Pittsburgh, $100,000. And then is Dubai giving away 100 or more, Chris, this year? I mean, what's Dubai giving away?
I don't know what they're giving away.
Yeah.
I think they were giving 60 for the Classic. I get that.
By the way, you got right now it's at 100, but it will likely go up before the show. Okay. Well, at least 100 in Dubai and 100 in Pittsburgh. So there's a lot of money at stake. I think look. We might see a couple guys hit all these shows, Chris. I wouldn't blame them if they did. Just from the money is good, you know. So cash in, man. I wouldn't hold back. And you have 1 hour left for the Species Nutrition Easter sale. Remember, put Easter 30 into the speciesnutrition.com cart. You get 30% off the entire purchase. We're also offering caramel macchiato flavored Isolized, 28 grams of protein per serving. It's one of my favorite flavors. You're gonna think you're drinking a Starbucks coffee while you're dieting, and no carbs, no sugar, nothing like that in there. The highest yield protein on the market, half price, $24.99. Plus, don't forget that Easter 30, you get 30% off the rest of the entire website. Free shipping on orders over $100 in the continental United States. And one more hour you got. Don't cry to me when it's over. Don't cry to me, Argentina, because it's over at midnight, Eastern Standard Time. All right, Chris, we're going to wrap up as we say every week here at Heavy Muscle Radio.
The truth hurts.
We'll see you next week, guys. Stop.